Now, if you run any kind of web design business or agency, one of the easiest ways to make recurring income is to have yourself set up with your own hosting plan. This way, you can sell that to your clients and make residual income. Well, today we're going to take a look at how we could set something like this up using FlyWP, who've kindly sponsored this video. But as always, no opinions will be expressed. I will simply demonstrate how you can get started with this technology, and then you can make a more informed decision for yourself. All applicable links will be in the description down below. But first of all, what exactly is FlyWP, and why would you want to consider something like this over maybe using something like hosting or another service? Well, basically, FlyWP is an interface that allows you to connect up to basically any kind of cloud platform. So for example, things like Vultr, DigitalOcean, Hetzner, and things like that. So you have the choice of where your servers actually reside. The other cool thing is that you can have multiple servers. So you may have one for your clients, one for yourself, one for maybe high-performing clients, or maybe one for a dedicated server for an individual client, all controlled inside your FlyWP account. Let's take a quick look at FlyWP, some of the things it offers, and let me give you a kind of whistle-stop tour of some of the key things. So once you create your FlyWP account, and you can start off with an absolutely free account if you want to test things out. There are some limitations, but it allows you to spin up a server, test things, get a feel for it, and see how it all works, and if it works the way that you want it to. So no obligation, you can try it out. Now, once you log into your dashboard, you're going to see a couple of different options across the top. Your servers, so you can have multiple servers. I've got one at this point in time, but you can have multiple listed here. The sites, and the DNS settings. This might sound a little bit daunting to start off with, but the reality is it is actually relatively simple and straightforward. So even if you're not one of those kind of super technical kind of people, you could probably set something like this up yourself without any real kind of effort. So first of all, you can see there's my server. But let's forget that. Let's just say we're coming in completely blank. How would you go about setting up your first server? All you need to do is click on Create New Server. This then gives you two different options. Your FlyWP-managed, this basically means that all the billing and everything is all controlled inside your FlyWP account, and you can connect up to DigitalOcean, Vultr, and Akamai. If you want to bring your own server, you can do that from here, and that opens up some additional options. You do have to have a little bit more technical knowledge here, but you could easily do it without too much problem. Let's say we stick with the FlyManaged to start off with. Let's say you choose something like Vultr, which is what I tend to use. You choose the option, and then underneath, you can basically go through and choose what type of server setup you want. As you can see, though, we can choose the server location. This will depend upon the actual servers that you're using. So, for example, DigitalOcean, Vultr, and so on may have servers in different locations. Choose what is relevant to you from the list. For this example, I might choose something like London. Then you can choose what server type you want, a shared CPU or a dedicated CPU. Then you've got your category, cloud, high frequency, and high performance. Then underneath, you can choose the server name. So you may want to name this your company. So for example, WP-Tuts 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Then you can choose the operating system. And then it gives us a server summary underneath and the estimated cost every single month. So if we chose this one, you can see that's $28 per month, and it gives us the information about it. So once you've done that, you click on Launch Server. That will take a few moments to provision everything, and then your server will be available to you. Now, if you want to bring your own server, if you choose that option from here, you can see this is a little different. So you see we've got some additional servers. So let's say you wanted to bring a Hetzner server over, choose the option, then you can drop in your profile name, the API token, and you can then say you've passed the API token. If you choose something else, let's cancel this, and we say Vultr, you can see it gives us the same kind of information, and we just need to grab that data. And you can see this will tell us where do you find it, check the documentation. So there's links to show you how to do it. Once you've done that, come back to your site. So you can see there's my site. So now once I click to open this up, now we get to the meat and bones of the actual setup. Now, first of all, let me just quickly say one of the benefits of using a setup like this is you've got everything basically set up in its own Docker container. Now, that doesn't mean anything to you. All it means is that every single site you have on your server is its own container. So if something happens to that site, so for example, let's say you've got a plugin that causes a security issue or something, that won't affect the other sites in your server. Now, before we move into taking a look at some of the options here, I'm not going to go through everything because it's a lot of information to cover, and I don't think you need to kind of see all of it in detail. We'll just quickly go through and take a look at some of the key things. But it's worth knowing that FlyWP is predominantly aimed at WordPress users. You can still use it for things like HTML sites and so on, but it is optimized for WordPress and various different WordPress features. So if you do want some of those more advanced features, things like Git, WP CLI, and so on, it is great for developers, agencies, and things like that. So if you have those requirements, you have those functions available. But if you're just a normal WordPress user, you don't have to delve into those should you want to just keep things simple. So at the moment, we're looking at a server level. So in other words, all these options down here are to do with the server itself. So the first thing you notice, this lists all of our sites. So we can easily open up any of these sites. We can see what's running on there. And if you take a look, this first one is a WordPress website. The second one is an N8N server for automation. And the third one is a HTML website. So even though FlyWP is geared towards WordPress, you can see that I can run other things on here. So you have flexibility there. And this is one of the things that I found in practice is it's nice to have these additional kind of tools available to you. So if you want to add additional value to clients, if you are selling your services and your hosting, you can do that here, which is pretty cool. Anyway, so there's our sites. If we want to migrate a site in, we can do that. So we can migrate from another server, bring it over, and a lot of the heavy lifting is catered for us. That's super useful to see. Come over then to the left-hand side, you've got your SSH keys, your database. Inside here, you can see there's a various different database structure, crons. So when you want to set up a cron job to automate various different things, those options are available. You can add a cron job directly from here, and you can see you can drop in your command, your user, and the frequency of that cron command. So if you're running things like an email marketing server, you may want to use the crons inside here to set things up to send and receive and kind of handle those things. Status. This gives you information about the server status itself, so you can check uptime, what kind of server it is. You can see we're running Ubuntu 24.04, we're running Docker 29.21, and the uptime 10 weeks, 5 days, and 45 minutes. So you can see how long I've been running this for testing purposes and to kind of get a feel for how all this works. Then you can see the various different things like your CPU, your RAM, your swap, your disk usage, and so on. And then underneath, we can see the actual sites we have running and how much resources are actually being used by any of those sites. So if you find something is causing a problem, maybe your sites are slowing down across the board on a specific server, you can come in here, check out the status of your server, and find any sites that may be taking too much pressure on the server itself. So you can see the one we've got here, which is running N8N, that's actually using quite a bit of RAM. Whereas the other sites, the demo site for Build Areas, for example, and my test site, they're using pretty much nothing. When it comes to CPU load, pretty much nothing going on in there. Jump into your firewall. This is where you can set the various different firewall rules. So if you want to add additional rules inside here, you absolutely can do. And you can see we've got control over the type, the ports you want to access, the protocols you want to use, any IP addresses, and so on. So if you want to add custom firewall rules in, you can do that here. You'll see we've also got SSH, HTTP, HTTPS, and so on. These are all automatically created. We don't have to do anything here. This is done right at the onset for you. You can manage things inside here, so you can choose to restart Nginx, enable HTTP 3, you have various different things here. You've got your SSH information, so you can log in via SSH into your server. And then finally, you've got your settings. And inside here, you can see there's various different things available, so including swap, and you can delete your server from your server. So that's basically the server level. Now, if we go back to sites, this is where our sites are listed. Now, depending upon what type of site you have will depend upon what features you can see. So this top one is a WordPress site. It's running PHP 8.2, WordPress 6.91. It's currently active. And then we've got some options. So it'll tell us, do we have any updates available in this particular instance of WordPress? Do we want to log into the admin directly from here? So you can also enable and disable backups. Now, I currently don't have any backups running here, but you do have full backup control as long as you're not using the free account. And if you want to, you can just simply come in and enable those. So you can add a backup provider and start working with your backups. Then finally, you can see you've got your page cache that is currently enabled. And we click the three dots, we can purge the cache, we can update, and we can do various different things. We can even sleep the site. Then underneath the two other sites we have, you can see there's no additional options here in information because we're not currently running WordPress on those. I say one of them is N8N and the other one is a static HTML5 site. And you can switch between your list view, your grid view, and you've got some options here as well. So you can manage things directly inside here. So let's say you've got a couple of WordPress sites, you could select them from here, come to your options and say update all plugins, themes, core, or update everything. So update management can be handled inside here as well. Okay, so let's dive into one of the sites. Let's jump into the test site, which is a WordPress site. Now we've got an overview of the site itself. So it's currently on a test demo sort of domain. It's not on a live site, but that would be listed here if it was. So all some useful information here. Then you come into your manage options and you can see we've got a bunch of different things we can do here. So file permissions, we can fix those. Docker compose, so we can restart Docker if we want to. Again, you can see you can sleep the site from here. Docker images, PHP, restart it. So you've got control over various different aspects from a server level as well. Various different configuration options inside here. So your WP config, you can control this if you want to put the site into debug mode. If there's a problem, you can do that from here. You can then control your PHP, so you can set up what version of PHP it's running, the memory, max time execution, and so on. So you will find that various different sort of setups, you probably want to tweak this if you're using tools like Elementor and so on. They do like to have a lot more memory and maybe execution times and so on. You can configure that inside here, so you have that kind of level of control. Same thing goes for Nginx. You can configure things inside here as well. If you're a Cloudflare user, you can enable the option inside here, so you can connect this up and control things as well. Jump into your WordPress, then you come into the overview, you can see that tells us what's available. So we've got a core update available, we've got some pending updates, the number of plugins, themes, users, see any available updates, we can see what they are, and then we can manage that directly inside here. Jump into plugins, you can see what plugins are installed and what are activated, and the same thing goes for your theme. So you can literally come in here, manage things direct from here. So you could run backups inside here, then you could easily just handle plugin updates and so on. Your security gives you, well, security, funnily enough. Come to general, you can see we've got 7G and 8G firewall. Very useful to see, so you can enable those, and all the various different sort of configuration settings in the 7G and 8G are automatically applied to your server. And there's additional options here for disabling things like XML RPC, things you don't really generally want running on WordPress. And these are all the default values. I haven't set anything up inside here, but you can see generally you can hit the ground running without having to set anything up. But there's some useful things here as well. Like, for example, you've got a website, doesn't need comments, just disable it. Disable trackbacks, disable login, all those kinds of things. You can do that inside here, hit save changes, and they will be applied to that website. So a lot of management can be done inside here without actually logging into the website itself at all. Then you've got your vulnerability scanner. This is set up to enable automated daily scans. So this will scan any WordPress websites you have, come back with any vulnerabilities, notify you via email, and be listed inside your dashboard as well. So you can address those quickly if something arises. And again, like I said, everything is in its own sort of Docker container. So everything is containerized. So you shouldn't have any problems spreading out to other sites. You also have an integrity checker, which you can use with WordPress core and plugins. And then you've got things like your SSL, so you can configure that here, your performance, so cache and redirect rules, performance monitor, and so on. So you can see exactly how well the site is running. You do have to configure this to Google PageSpeed Insights. So if you want to use that, you can do. And then you've got your backup section. So you can add a backup provider, like we saw earlier on. Your files and access, so we've got a file manager. So if you want to get access to the files behind, in this case WordPress, but any other ones, you could do that directly inside here, and you can also access it through SFTP. Email options are available, so you can set up email inside here using various different external services like Postmark, Twilio, Mailgun, and so on. So drop your information in there. You can then use this to handle the email sending. You can monitoring and logs, so we can have uptime monitoring, and then you've got your logs, which will give you logs about debug, Nginx, and so on. And then finally, you've got your settings. So you've got your general settings and you've got your cron settings. And again, we can delete the site inside here as opposed to deleting the server. It's very, very straightforward. It might look like there's an awful lot of things going on here, but the reality is it's not that difficult. Then if you want to come into different sites, so for example, we come into this one, which is running NA10. So we come in here, you see we get a slightly different set of options. You can manage inside here, so we've got some of the same options, but because it's not WordPress, you're not getting all the same WordPress options, Nginx, SSL, and so on. Now, if you want to add a new site, you can come into your sites, and all we need to do is create a new site. We can select a server, so we only have one, but if you have multiple, you can select from here, hit continue, and then we can choose what type of site we want to spin up. So if it's WordPress you're working with, then you can easily instant spin up a copy of WordPress with everything set up configured, standard, WordPress multi-site, you've got one-click apps, and you've got HTML. Now, one-click apps is a super useful little feature. If you open this, you can see we can install NA10, PHP-MyAdmin, Mautic, if you want open source marketing automation, so email marketing, connect that up to the email service you can configure inside FlyWP as well. Umami, if you want privacy focused analytics, great if you want to give this access to for clients. So you want to have non-Google analytics installed on sites and give clients access, you can do that here as well. So there's some pretty useful little one-click apps, and they are super easy to install. They are literally one click. So you can choose, let's say, for example, we want to put Imami on there. You choose it, click on next. You can give it a name, or in this case, we'll just use a test domain. Hit next, give it a name, hit next. There's our summary. Hit deploy app, give that a few moments to go and do it, and it will then create that app, spin it up in its own Docker instance, and then you'll have access to that on your server. So you can add additional features inside here that you can easily use with clients or on your own websites, however you want to kind of proceed with it. So let's just recap on why you may want to take a look at something like FlyWP for yourself. The fact you can easily spin up servers, sites, and so on, and have full control over them is so much quicker and easier. And once you start to scale this kind of model, you start to see the benefits of using it. You can easily add new servers, add new sites, manage those sites, configure them, install WordPress, install simple one-click apps that you can do very, very easily, like I've just shown you. You can start off, if you want to, by using the FlyWP-managed server. So you can use DigitalOcean, Vultr, and so on. Or if you want to bring your own server, like Hetzner, you could easily do that. So you have complete control over what you want to bring over to you. This gives you a lot of control over how you manage things. The fact that everything is in its own simple Docker container, which means that if you do have client sites or you have your own sites on you and one of them has a problem, it doesn't cause a problem for the other sites on the same server, and it doesn't cause a problem with other servers you may have. And you can easily spin up, remove, add, delete sites, servers, and so on, all inside one simple to use control panel using FlyWP. So that's kind of the key things I wanted to cover in this video and show you it's not as frightening or as daunting as you may first think, and it's quite easy. And once you've got things all set up, they basically run in the background for you. You can set your backups and all those kinds of things to automatically go without any real problem. Hopefully you found this video useful, and as always, all applicable links are in the description down below. As always, my name is Paul C. This is WP Tuts, and until next time, take care.